Hello, everyone. Welcome to another episode of the Storytelling Journey. I am super excited for today's event. We have our friend Omar joining us, and Jay and I are we're just reminiscing, and we were sharing stories prior to going live, and we're realizing how much we have in common. And maybe that'll be a show and a topic of its own one day where we can compare how aligned we are being from different parts of the world, but culturally and just intellectually, we're so connected. How are you, Jay?
Man, it's crazy. And I was we were joking, right? I was saying, am I from the upside down? Like from Stranger Things. It's this other world, right? I guess we're mirroring um, almost each other's lives to to certain degrees, right? Um, but I think that you know that speaks to how well we mesh when we do this live event, and and sometimes it works out with other people, right? um it's but you know what's interesting? Omar, he brings on everybody and of every kind of background, and he's able to connect with them, but he does it in such an interesting way. And I too am excited to kind of poke and prod and see how this all started.
All right, so why don't we bring him up on stage? So our studio today is an audio only event, and I think we're kind of this is kind of growing on us, and we enjoy it. Our guests enjoy it. Our guest today, Omar. Before we welcome him, why don't we cue up a little bit of a welcoming committee? Omar, welcome to the show. Great to have you. How you doing, my friend?
Awesome, awesome. Thank you so much. I'm sitting in the left right corner here on the seat. It's so comfortable. I appreciate it. Next to Jay and next to you. Very comfortable. I'm doing well. It's a happy Thursday afternoon.
It's a happy Thursday afternoon. What's the weather like where you're at? Jay and I were just talking
Uh,
about the heat
yeah,
wave.
Phoenix, right?
Yeah.
Actually, we got some rain a little bit a couple of days ago, so it cooled down a bit. So it's in the 90s. I haven't checked, but I think it's like 99 or 100, but that's doable. I love that. I mean, yesterday I was sitting out for maybe an hour or something outside. So it's beautiful. When it's 115, that's when we really can't handle it. That's
Oh
high.
man.
But for some reason this year it's fluctuating. It hasn't been too high. A couple of monsoon rains here and there. Yeah.
Well, I'm told Phoenix is hit and miss. Everyone thinks and associates Phoenix to desert heat, but it gets cold there. Heck, there's a hockey team in
Oh,
Phoenix.
it is.
Well, there used to be.
Yeah.
All right. Well, enough about the weather. We have a great conversation lined up. The storytelling journey is really about sharing our stage and allowing others to share their narrative, their story. Why don't you kick us off and share a little bit about who you are and community that you serve? I'm sure there's a fantastic story that will evolve and turn into a great conversation.
Yeah, absolutely. First of all, I would say thank you guys. My name is Omar. I'm in Arizona, Phoenix. Been here 30 years now. It'll be actually next year it'll be 30 years. And interesting when Jay in the beginning mentioned how I bring a network of people together. And yes, that's who I am. I mean, I grew up, my family was very open-minded to all cultures and all backgrounds. And so I tend to be that way. I grew up very social. The kid in high school or well, back then I was a shy kid, but then as I got into college, I opened up and became more social and more talking to people. So I've always been that kind of person. I work in the technical trainer field. I have a civil engineering background, all that. Uh, but yeah, in a nutshell, I've always been this social guy who came in, and my parents are originally from East Europe, from the Balkans, and I guess being an immigrant from there, we just opened up, you know. Yeah.
Fantastic. All right. So you talk about engineering, and I know I'm excited to dive into the connection with engineering and your passion for this game show that you build and incorporate as part of your online presence. But before we do that, why don't we welcome our our audience members, those of you who are joining us and are listening in. Feel free, let us know where you're joining us from. Drop your comments. If you have questions for Omar, feel free. I'd love to hear um, the community engaging. I just checking the chat here. Okay. All right. So why don't we get started and talk a little bit about your technical background and your passion. How did this all come together? Tell tell me a little bit about this Zoom. Am I pronouncing it correct? Zoom parody or Zoom parody? How is this
Zoom party.
pronounced?
So it's
Zoom
like
parody.
Jeopardy. So party, right? From Jeopardy. Just take the geo out and put Zoom on there. Zoom party. That's all. Yeah.
So you go
So
from engineering to engagement. That is awesome.
exactly.
Let's
Exactly.
hear a
Yeah.
little bit about that.
Yeah. I mean, I guess I can start when I was younger. I grew up watching TV like most people. I enjoyed game shows and talk shows, watching Jay Leno and watching David Letterman at night. So I liked their style and the way they were doing it. It was just hilarious. Now TV isn't as much as it was before back then, and I was too much into Jeopardy and Who Wants to Be a Millionaire. Those shows were really eye-catching to me. I've enjoyed it. Um, I've always loved trivia and quiz and learning, and so the love of that, I think, when it started for me to make this kind of program. But I didn't really start it. I mean, I watched it when I was 10 years old, 12 years old. But I actually started the show in 2020 during COVID. I've always had the passion for creating a show, being a game show host somehow, but I didn't know how. I was watching videos of people creating a Jeopardy game or some kind of a quiz. I said, "Oh, wow, I can do something in PowerPoint. I can create it and then see who from my friends or close relatives would enjoy it." And so I launched a pilot version. I taped it, but then I didn't put it on YouTube or anything like that. I said, let me see who likes it. They enjoyed it. I had a cousin, I had my brother participate in the game. They said, "Wow, this is fascinating. It's engaging." And then I said, "Oh, let me invite other people." And I was also tutoring at the time too, as well. I'm still tutoring. And I had some students. I said, "Hey, would you guys like to be invited in this quiz show that I'm doing?" And they said, "Yeah." A lot of them didn't know what it was, but when they saw it, they saw the flash. "Oh, yeah, this is like Jeopardy." So yeah, I'm interested. And I said, "Okay, I'll bring them on, but why don't I give them a prize?" So I started giving a lot of them prizes who participated, especially the kids, because I like education. Um, yeah, I mean, I've been doing it for 5 years now. I have tournaments. I have couples events that's gonna come up here soon, and yeah, it's just been growing that way. So that's where it kind of started. I know I probably talked too much on that, expanded too much, but yeah, there you go.
Oh, that's Jake. Could you imagine us spinning off a a live stream into a talk show, or no? Well, this is a talk show into a game show.
Yeah. So, you know, I grew up like a lot of Americans did watching game shows with my grandma. That's where I got introduced to it first, right? And of course, it was Bob Barker. On the Price is Right. Come on down. That
Yep.
that exaggerated, almost DJ voice, inviting people to become part of the show, and then to be recognized. They, a lot of the people in the audience started wearing funny costumes, and as a kid, I'm like, that's when I was like, these people are crazy. But that's what got me started, was really just sitting with my grandma. And back then, I'm going to date myself here. Obviously there was like three channels on TV. And so that was the thing, right? Back in the day. And so I can see myself doing it. Fun fact, I actually met Alex Trebek when I was
Oh wow.
working. Yeah, when I was working
Nice.
in the cable news business way back in the day. He had visited Guam, and he was invited to do this little talk show that we had, little operation. And there was a little bit of an embarrassment, because this guy comes from Hollywood, and he's got this program that millions of people around the world see, and we had this little rinky dink studio. Really, it was converted from a house into a studio. And so I was like, oh my gosh, this is Alex Trebek. I mean, and for me, and a little island boy, I was maybe 19 at that time, to meet somebody from TV who's being, seen by millions. I mean, I was just like starstruck, and people were like, from a game show host? You don't even know.
And a Canadian to boot. Man, you had like the best of two worlds.
That's awesome. So I grew up around that stuff, and so when Omar, I started seeing Omar and his stuff. I was like, oh wow, that's cool. And to engage his network in that way, super creative. So kudos to you, Omar, on that.
So super creative is a great segue, because I gotta put in a plug for my guy Lion Flood. If you're not following him, he's also in the virtual event space. He shared something with me yesterday that I was trying to get into today's show, trying to make this show more interactive, especially with the whole game show theme. And it turns out that I can't get my tech lined up. I'm trying to triage this in the background, but hey, we continue, we carry on. Uh, so gamification, entertainment, education, you have it all in one place. Isn't that fascinating? What compelled you, Omar, to want to do this? What was your motivation to bring, some people call it edutainment? So you're educating, you're entertaining, yet you bringing it all to one stage. Oh, we lost Omar. Let's bring him back in. Oh,
Okay.
are you there,
Mhm.
brother? See, we were
Yeah,
talking about this
I
happening,
think
and it.
I lost some kind of connection or something. I refreshed. I'm back in now. So the part I missed. So he was talking about he met Alex Trebek in the studio. After that, I lost the rest.
Okay, well, that's not too bad. Could have been worse. You could have lost us at, hey, welcome to the show. And Jay and I could have been talking for the last 14 minutes all on our own. So when we lost you, I was talking about gamification, entertainment, education. What inspired you to bring all of this together and make it part of your story, make it part of your narrative?
Yeah, I would say the main thing is communication or collaboration with people, right? Communicating with people and collaborating with them, and education. Because I am an educator. I've taught before in the past. I'm still tutoring, and I found this is a fun way we can bring people together and educate them in a fun way, right? It's engaging. The answer populates. They get the points or they lose the points, and they go either learning something new or disappointed, but they figured out, oh wow, that was the answer to that trivia question kind of thing. That's the main thing, you know. I want people to, when they see something, to be curious about the world and to be able to, oh wow, why is this tree green or why is the sky blue? What's the reason behind it? Because I don't want people to just go around and uh, be on their phones all day, watch videos of monkeys or gorillas jumping around. There's a purpose for why we're here, and so I want people to realize that and get educated for certain things. That's the main goal, I would say.
So is that, are you compelled to think and feel that way because of your technical background, or it's just part of your persona and just, you know?
I think yeah, the way I grew up and I was raised that way. That's part of me. I've always been a collaborator. I've always been a leader. Always wanted to bring people together. Um, the technical part of it is more of a skill. I wouldn't say that it's how I grew up, I would say. Uh, I'm a social person, basically. Yeah.
All right. So, Jay's, as you know, you and I follow Jay, and anyone who follows Jay knows that he's the storytelling guru. Now, keeping the show on the storytelling theme, let's let's jump into this conversation and talk about crafting the story around your shows. So, how do you craft a scenario where you keep contestants and you keep your audience on Zoom pretty engaged and keeping them participating and involved? Like, I can imagine some people have a lot of anxiety. It's like, oh my god, you know, it's not Jeopardy, but it's me in the public domain. Am I going to mess up? Am I going to be on Omar's blooper reels?
Yeah.
How do you
Yeah.
keep people engaged, and how do you keep people level headed?
Oh yeah. I mean, the number one thing is looking for the right contestant, the person who's actually engaged. And a lot of the community on LinkedIn are people who are not afraid to show who they are. But I've had a few. I mean, I had one who was actually, while we were taping, did not know the answers to the question and decided to make an excuse and drop. And I was like, is everything okay? Yeah, yeah, edit my portion and that. But you have to comfort them in the beginning, you know. First of all, let them know, here's the show. They watch it. Are you guys comfortable being on there? I tape usually the tournament. So I have them taped, most of them. It'll be one or two shows that are live, but they're taped. And so in that sense, it's only me and the two other players or three players, and maybe an audience member who wants to watch. So it's taped. So in that sense, they're not really too anxious about it, but they might be anxious about not knowing the question. Haven't had any issues except one person who just dropped, but majority of them are eager to try it. They want to do it. They're asking me, when are we doing the show? I've had people on the waiting list for the next season. They want to participate because they want to do this. I mean, they're not worried about that. Those people who I asked them to, can you participate on the show? They're the ones who actually uh, get frightened about it. So, but majority of people are okay with it, from what I've seen so far. But I'm early. I'm already in my fifth season, so
Jay, from a storytelling perspective, what do you think people fear the most? Is it being put on the spot, or people get into their own heads? And like Omar, he nurtures the audience and prepares them, and people overthink, and that that overthinking just gets in the way of their own narrative and their own story, and they find themselves tripping over their feet.
Oh man, you know, I think for me, right, it would be that. Now, by the way, he invited me, and I just want to say I ain't scared. Um, um, No, it just my schedule hasn't been in alignment for a minute. But the the thing is, you're right. It's that what is going to happen? Am I going to be able to live up to the hype? Am I going to be able to, answer the questions? And if they ever watched or ever participated in the past in any of the things that he has done, he's not the guy that's gonna you know, put you in the corner and aim a weapon at you. That's not what he does. And that word you use, nurturing, I think is really important. And he does it well. It's a game, right? And so by the fact that it is a game, it's supposed to be fun and lighthearted. Um, there's obvious times when there's some serious questions that he asks, but for the most part, it's not meant to scare you. And I think you're right. It does have something to do with somebody getting into their own head and really getting in their own way of connecting. And
Yeah,
whether it's yeah, I think whether it's
I
a
was
game
gonna,
or anything. Yeah, go ahead.
I was gonna say that. Yeah, those are good points. But a lot of it too, people have to have courage to get in there, and then just try it out. And you know more than you expect. I mean, some people say, "Oh, I don't know anything. I don't know anything," and then you get in there, you know a few things. I'll give you an example, and he's in the audience right there. He didn't do so well, and I can talk about him because he's there and we're friends. He um, he guessed on some of the answers, and he knew it, but it was all pure guess. But it was for laughs, so he enjoyed it. So just try it if you're not into that, but you'll be surprised how much you know, and then you might win. His episode actually, we had one guy from Ukraine living in Ukraine. We had Any, and then we had another person living in Las Vegas. And even with the accent and the language barrier in Ukraine, he was able to answer a few questions, which was amazing, and having people from different parts of the world too. So, yeah.
All right. So let's pick up on that. People from different parts of the world. So you're connecting diversity. You're connecting like people at a global scale. So
Oh, yeah.
right, that is fascinating for one. But how do you adapt your show so that it resonates with the diversity and the cultures across your audience?
That's a good question. I usually so I know who's going to be participating on the show, so I try to make the questions related to something they might know. I want to ask them like in details. What is the American holiday that's in May, for example? They might know it, they might not know it, but I'll tend to do a universal or a global, like who's the president of Canada, for example, or something that they might, or capital of this country. So they might know that, but I'll leave one or two maybe an American would know or somebody that. So I try to make them at a global scale in terms of the questions, and I keep them in mind what they would know because I got criticized on that in the beginning of like, oh, the question should have been in the surveys that were sent out. Oh, they should have been more geared to global, not towards this. And so I do change out the questions here and there. But now with the global, what do you call it, AI, the chat GTP, it's helping a lot. Like I can just put in there, give me 5 trivia questions about this. So I'm accurate, hopefully. It's correct with all the trivia questions. And so I'm implementing that for the next season. And so I'm getting less error in terms of grammar. It's more accurate information because before I was researching the information from the internet, from encyclopedias, from books, and then typing it out. And so a lot of that is there. So I kind of expanded more on what you were saying there.
All right. So you mentioned earlier your show's recorded, and
Yeah.
I'm sure Jay has a comparable story from his day in journalism. Uh, Now, being recorded, you probably have an advantage, but have you ever been put on the spot where you're asking a question and someone's adamantly, you know, butting heads with the response you were seeking versus the opinion and response that they wanted to give you? Are there behind the scenes conversations that we don't see on the air?
Oh yeah, there are some. Some of them
I,
I use for bloopers. I mean, a lot of them are funny because a lot of the people that I know, I've had a relationship with them in terms of I've talked to them before, I've known them. But there were, some funny incidents where I was sharing the screen, but it would show a gray box there in the Zoom. I use Zoom when I do the show, and I didn't see it. So the person was Omar, there's a little box there. We can't see the clues. And I wasn't even paying attention. I was like, my screen is perfect. I'm getting ready to go. We're moving on. And then she's like, "I may text you. I want to text you." I was like, there it is. Then I was like, really? How you said? I don't see that. I stopped sharing and then we did it again. But then the editing part of that, I had to edit that. So that's why I need to get more proficient in that because of that. So that's why I tape it in case there's any errors, any mistakes, somebody says a bad word, whatever. You never know. And that could be for the bloopers. Um, but yeah, that's one incident that I mentioned. Th- There might be a few. I mean, I've done, let's see, maybe 50, 60 episodes so far in 5 years. There's got to be more. That's the number one I can think of, which happened this year. So there's. Uh,
and Jay, in your days in journalism, there's no retakes, is there, when you're live? There's no editing when you're live. I'm sure you have an abundance of stories that, and if I recall, the utility one, wasn't there one? Right? Right.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. Well, even okay, so that really wasn't a live shot, but it's still there was still some craziness that occurred. So I we visited a nearby island, right? I was there covering some stories. The major story at the time was, oh, everybody knows the shipping company DHL, right? Well, the H in DHL died in a plane crash, and um, there were people that came out of the woodwork saying that he fathered their their kid, and so I was there to cover that. But I covered other stories, and one like news tip came in, and it said the governor was putting a power pole at his mom's house in an area where electricity, there was a problem with the power being reliable in that area. Oh, but the governor decides he's going to put a power pole right there for his mom so she can have stable power. And we were like, what? Let's go out and check this. And sure enough, there was the power company, and at the time the power company was still part of the government. They were out there putting the power pole in. Sure enough, there we were. And I could see this guy coming down, and he had these shades on, and he had a wife beater on, and he was greased up like he was out there working in the field. But what my cameraman didn't notice, because he just kept rolling and kept doing what he was doing, was that he was holding a machete, and
oh
he
wow.
kept yeah, and he kept saying, "You need to stop. You need to stop." And we said, and from a distance, I'm like, "Hey, we're here on a public easement. We have the right to be here. We were called, and we can clearly anybody can see this from the street. So just do your job and let us do ours." And he didn't listen. He kept coming, and my cameraman actually he put the camera down, and I was like, no, 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 keep rolling, because in instances like this, you're told to keep rolling just in case of liability, right? If something happened. Well, he put the camera down, but he kept the audio going. So you could hear us say, "Hey, stop, stop," you know. And in our language, we were trying to tell him that, we're just here to do our job. He didn't want to hear it. And if the cameraman actually didn't put the camera down, he that gentleman, I'm calling in a gentleman at this point. I called him something else at the time. and, but he swung that machete. And if he hadn't, the cameraman hadn't put the camera down, he
Mhm.
would not have seen it coming. And so things happened just the way it should have. We got out of there um, in safely, just to put it that way. But there was a potential for a lawsuit. So there, yeah. So there's so many things that happened behind the scenes. Public relations officer immediately called the station afterwards. Profusely apologizing on behalf of the utility company. And I was like, you know, we're all adults, and there's no, none of us came away with any scars, thank God. So we're just going to let it go, but we're going to, write a report. Um, and, and in confidence, she said, just so you know, off the record, the guy was fired. I was like, we didn't want that to happen. But clearly, everybody, before we even got back to the station, everybody knew about it. It's a tiny island. So word gets around. So, yeah, I don't want to take away,
Oh wow! So who was fired? The camera guy?
no,
Or
not the camera guy, the utility company guy, the guy
oh,
who
I see.
swung the machete. He was the one who was
Oh
trying to
yeah. Oh
protect
wow.
the agency's reputation. Um,
Wow.
and in doing so, he actually harmed it instead.
Wow.
Well, so this is a
Interesting.
great segue because we were talking about, you know, connecting diversity, and now we're sharing stories about what happens behind the scenes. And as you two are talking, I'm trying to keep a live chat going with our friends at Restream because I'm having technical difficulties with the chat, and it's funny because just earlier today I dropped a poll, um, and the poll was tied to tech issues around audio. Man, I think I can queue up another another poll on tech issues for all other reasons, a multitude of reasons around events as to what happens and how do you address them. So, uh, thank you for sharing that. I remember the utility story, and that's the fantastic thing with storytelling. You hear me often say, "Be seen, be heard, be remembered," and Jay's story is something that stuck with me, and I remember it. And we fail to understand the power of storytelling, and whether it's through Omar's shows, whether it's through a sales presentation, or just simply how we show up as our authentic selves online. We hear it so often. You know what? Just be consistent, be authentic, and people will resonate. When people resonate with your story, people will resonate with you. And doors open, opportunities present themselves, and we have a tendency of not wanting to believe it, but we just witnessed it because that story stuck to me, and that is real. Um, I didn't make that up. All right, let's talk about tech, where tech meets the narrative. I just divulged my tech issues. Uh, Omar, what kind of challenges, whether it's tech or what have other challenges of your own, how do you overcome them when you're producing or creating your show? Are there tools? Are there support? Is there a framework, a guideline that you would like to share with others who perhaps envision, coming up with creative ideas to bring to the live stream space or to the event space or just personal entertainment?
Yeah, that's a good question. I mean, we're all creative, right? We all have a certain, but not all of us can entertain, right? So you have to know what you're able to do, right? If you're an author, write a book. If you're an artist, draw a picture. I'm an entertainer, so I like making people laugh. I like um, hosting shows. So I would say find what you're good at. Find that thing that can entertain, make you at peace, and find that you can give to somebody, um, to an audience, right? That's what I would say. It's really hard to say what people would like, but basically, yeah. In terms of tech, uh, I've always been a tech person, a math person, a science person, and so being able to put those skills together is easy. I do have people who help me out with basic things, but I've always been the person who likes to do things on my own. Even though you can be bombarded with a lot of things, working 4 hours a week, doing two shows, the game show and also the podcast as well. That do we really know them? But yeah, it can be fun, but also time consuming, But overall, yeah, if you guys have any sort of ideas, don't be afraid to try it. And then you never know where it's going to go. I mean, I've always had the passion to host a show or even do a game show. And then when I came in LinkedIn, about I've been on it for maybe 15 years or so, but when I finished college, but then I really got into it more when I started connecting with Jamie Edwards and Donald Cohen from LinkedIn, and I saw that these people do shows, do events, which I've never seen before, and they're being followed, and they're real engaging people, right? And in 2023, when got on here more, and I saw they had this ability, so just have the belief, have the ability. If you have an idea, just share it with a close friend, share it with somebody that who trusts you, and see if it's a good idea. If not, if you feel like you want to do it, just do it. Like they say, like Nike says, do it, right?
and,
There
and
you go.
more importantly, have fun with it, right? If
Yeah,
it becomes grueling and if it becomes cumbersome and you dread the fact that you're doing it, then perhaps it just isn't a fit, or you learn something. Say, all right, let's change the format, let's
Mhm.
change the subject matter, um, but don't give up on yourself at the first attempt. All right.
exactly.
I think that's a message we can all agree on. Now, if you want, and I'm going to put myself, I'm going to make myself vulnerable here. I got a show idea, a concept. How well do you know your co-host? Imagine bringing, let's say, Jay and myself, who, we're celebrating. This is like episode 11 um, of this particular show. We talk about off camera and behind the scenes of how aligned we are. Let's see how well we know each other and each other's narrative and story. Food for thought. I'm not. I'm just putting it out there. And anecdotally. Um,
I have a bad memory, so I'm going to lose. I'm going to lose right away.
all right. Well,
Yeah,
let's pick up on that. You talked about bad memory. I'm just throwing ideas because that's typically what happens. I always get these ideas swimming in my head, and I just sometimes I just splurt them out. Can we talk about um, measuring success when it comes to storytelling? Omar, you've put this great show together. It's a great. It started off as a concept. You're now in, 3 years into it. People are consuming your entertainment, your content on your channels, on your social channels. And similarly, we're doing these shows with a purpose and with intention. But how do we quantify that storytelling and that our efforts and that our narrative is resonating? Because conventional content will point us to impressions, will point us to engagement. But if we kind of zero in to storytelling, which is the backbone of this show, how do we measure? How do we quantify that storytelling is resonating? Maybe I'll start with Jay and then open it up to Omar.
Well, I think for just looking at Omar, what you mentioned, the fact that he's been doing this for 3 years, he has people
5 years.
show up. I'm
Actually,
sorry,
5 years.
5 years. That's right. He did say 5 years.
Yeah.
5 years.
2020, remember COVID time. Yeah.
Right. So he's been doing it for 5 years. And so the fact that it's been going on for 5 years, right? I think that's a good way to measure the success,
Yeah.
right? And how people respond to it, how people are continuing to, want to be on the show. I think those are the things that can really make us understand that what he's doing is working. Now, we can go on a deep dive into, the algorithm and how many people show up, periodically, quarterly or monthly, right? All of those things. But one of the things I think that people tend to forget is the resilience of the host to continue to do the program, even when there are only two or three people that do show up. And I think the measure of that, right, can lead to success, because sometimes people aren't going to show up. Sometimes, the subject matter may not, fall on the right ears, and, people don't tune in or whatever. But when you see that he continues to do it and it's consistent, the consistency is going to pay off. And I've seen it in the media industry, the legacy media industry. you know Even though it's, a mom and pop operation, sometimes those mom and pop operations, they get so big because they're there day in, day out, putting in the work. And I think, for what we're talking about, even though we're talking about fun and being lighthearted and, that type of thing, the consistency matters. And the fact that he's been doing this for 5 years shows it, and people show up for him. So,
Yeah, exactly. I mean, in the beginning, when I started, I had no idea or if people are going to be interested. And in the beginning, I was saying, I'll keep trying. If people don't sign up and don't want to do it, I'll stop. I'll end. I won't continue. I mean, why am I going to be pushing that? But then I connected with people on LinkedIn, and then people enjoyed it. And I always, and since they're enjoying it, they keep coming back, and then I always tend to change it. So like maybe one season I'll do a couples edition, or one season I might do a tournament. So bring people back from the previous season who enjoyed it and loved it. They'll say, yeah, yeah, I'm willing to come. So you'll have those people. They know the show, they tried it, and then they'll tell their friends or their family, and they'll participate in it. Um, I can give you the example of the couples. When I started doing the couples episode, nobody wanted to participate in it. I had to get people who are close to me or people that I know. And yeah, yeah, they'll do it. Then for this season, people actually reached out to me. They said, "When are you doing the couples Zoom party? I want to participate." And it was like easy now that they're actually interested in being on it. And I was like, "Okay, just send me your picture. Send me this. Here's the fill out the form." And it was that easy. We have a date set up for Friday, August 1st. It's going to be a live couples show. And it just came easy like that. It's amazing. In the beginning, you struggle a bit, you struggle, and you try to figure out who's interested and knock on doors. There was a show that I forgot, I think The View or something. Somebody said,
Did we lose Omar?
I think we did. Uh-oh.
All right. So he's still in studio. All right, we'll continue the conversation because I have some other questions. Hopefully, he'll get back on. Um, but to kind of piggyback on what both of you had shared, I look at this from multiple lenses, and I'm going to put my marketing hat on. And Jay, you touched on legacy building, and let me tell you, I think the magic happens uh, at the replays. We show up live, and yes, there are times we're going to have better participation, we're going to have better engagement. But what happens after we go live, and is is where the magic I see is where the magic happens. Because if you're able to resonate with people afterwards, and people are willing to come and listen to your story, your message, it that is, and I'll say it again, that's magic, right? Some of us call it social selling. We're not here pitching any of our services, any of what we do. We're simply articulating and educating and entertaining. And like other bigger productions, you look at morning radio. People tune in when they can for as long as they're able to. The drive to work, the drive home, morning breakfast television. People stick around for as long as they're able to. And if the message resonates, technology now allows, through streaming, through replays, people come back and listen to the rest of what you had to say in bite-sized pieces. That's an opportunity that didn't exist in the past. If even before the VCR, if you missed the show, you missed the show. We are in a utopic place when it comes to content consumption, where our stories can be paused and people will come back and listen to it.
Yeah, I think the content, the way we consume content these days, right? Uh, you're right. I think that the ability, it's the on demand um, phenomenon, right? When we have the opportunity to participate, we're going to take that opportunity. And the fact is, we've become this on demand society, you know, whereas, when we were kids, right, we had to wait to watch our favorite TV program, right? There was a thing back in the day, kids don't know this now, but Saturday morning cartoons, right? They were called Saturday morning cartoons because they appeared on Saturday mornings. So this is exactly why it's so, um, I guess, prevalent, is because it's to our convenience when we can participate. And so the fact that we can go back and listen, sometimes I'm driving at 6 o'clock in the morning, right? And I'm going to work, but there aren't any podcasts or anything that I want to listen to at that time. There are shows, but not anything I want to listen to. That's live. So I've got to listen to the replay on my way to work. I've got about 41 minutes, to kill on that drive. So, and people do this all over the world now because it's become such a convenience. And um, you know, there are many, many other people and businesses that take advantage of that on-demand phenomenon. So, and why not us, right?
Absolutely. So we have Omar joining us again. Welcome back on stage. Um, where did we lose you last?
Uh, I was talking about the the shows that I was doing with the kids shows, I think, and how a lot of people were now more interested in participating in it for my couple show. That's what. Did you guys hear that part?
Uh,
Yeah, I
yes,
heard a
yes,
couple. Yeah,
yes.
Yeah.
in the beginning, it wasn't as as I guess popular, or people didn't want to jump in, but now you're seeing an uptick.
Yeah, absolutely. So yeah, I mean, in the beginning when I started, I was actually asking people to participate on my show. I was asking. Now people are asking when are you taping? When are you doing this? They're on waiting list, and so they're willing to be there. Like we're taping a show August 1st. Actually, it'll be live for couples, so I'm already set up for it, and that's great. That's great. So
All right, we got 10 minutes before the top of the hour, and I want to ask some um, quasi personal questions. And
awesome.
keeping it fun, try to keep it personal, but not too personal. What's one fun fact about you that people perhaps don't know?
Fun fact about me that people don't know. I would say I have a good heart. I care too much about people that I like to ask how they're doing, and I do that with a lot of people. That's something people might know about me or don't know about me. I'm open. When people see me and they know me, they find I'm a caring person. So I like to. I'm too caring.
Well, let me share with you that your philanthropic heart resonates. I did get messages on this event, DMs, where people reached out and said, "Hey, you know what? Amar's a great guy." So
Yeah.
if you think it, other people are saying it. So kudos to you.
Absolutely. Well,
Jay is
you have to live the way you are, treat people the way that you want to be treated. That's it might be biblical, it might be a religious thing, but it's true. If you want to be treated with bad manners, people will treat you that way. You don't want to be that. So that's how I was raised, and that's how I expect people to treat me. I've had people just for me saying hello to them, they blocked me for that. I'm like, why would you block me for me saying hello to you? So, well, yeah, absolutely, good points.
Jay, is there something that we don't know that you'd like to share?
Well, so I was a cultural activist.
Ah,
Yeah, um, for a stint. I still am. I'm just not as active as an activist as I want to be.
yeah,
Um, but there are a lot of indigenous populations across the globe that were impacted by colonialism, right? Um, and so, and Guam was no different, right?
yeah.
And so, how do you manage to bring your culture into 2025? How do you manage to continue to use the language that was handed down to you by your ancestors? How do you continue to tell the stories of your elders in 2025? So I was struggling with those questions,
Hmm.
20 some years ago.
Yeah.
And so in order for me to continue the legacy of my ancestors, I just shared their stories. And that then led to me doing poetry and participating in poetry slams. So if you didn't know, I was a I was a poetry slam poet back in the day.
Oh
Um,
wow.
yeah, yeah. I totally had no clue that this genre of poetry even existed. And then somebody handed me three DVD. Now this is back in the day, so they handed me three DVDs of Def Poetry Slam. And if you remember Def Poetry Jam, I mean Def
Uh-huh.
Comedy Jam,
Yeah.
Def Comedy Jam was the basically similar, right? So you had a different venue, you had people go up there, but instead of comedy, it was poetry. You had some comedy in there, obviously, because it's poetry. But and I was just man, I watched all three DVDs in one night. And at 6 o'clock in the morning, right before I was getting ready to go to work, I put down a poem on my computer because I was so inspired by it. So that I don't think a lot of people know that about me.
All right.
Oh,
So if you're not connected to Michael LeBlanc, uh, first reach out to him, connect with him. He's big into poetry as well. You two should curate a an event or just get your poetic minds together.
oh yeah, uh, I've been thinking about it and thinking about it, and I think the time for thinking is over. I gotta start taking action. I'm not getting any younger,
None of us are.
right?
All right, Omar. Top of the hour. We're going to close it off with if you weren't working where you're in the profession you're in. So if you weren't in a technical background in engineering and you weren't hosting your Zoom party, what would you be doing? What's the one thing you you'd like to maybe add to the bucket list, or you said just think to yourself, you know what? If I wasn't doing this, here's what I'd like to do. In a utopic world, it would be what?
My ideal job would be actually to be a traveling teacher and also a host. So part of that I love. Like so I would love to travel, be able to teach people online maybe, but also travel the world at the same time. So take my work with me, be able to sit in an Airbnb somewhere in Italy or in Turkey while doing my work there, and also maybe do a live show in the evening times or in the morning. Do a live show with a small audience member. That would be great to go to this city or go to this city. That would be my ideal job.
Yeah, imagine
So
that. I'm coming to you live from Piazza in Venice,
yeah,
and let's talk about this espresso and how espresso differs from Starbucks to Italy. I could see that. You know, the whole UGC concept, you could start selling and promoting different products, different destinations. And I think if Lynn Lang is still on the show, she's a travel agent. You got to reach out to her and pitch that idea. I've already tried to pitch the whole tour guide idea myself.
yeah.
If she put group travel events together, if she set up any Portuguese destinations, I'd be glad to travel along with the group and translate and be um, the narrator for those travel experiences. So, uh, Jay, is there something that you'd rather be doing or would do differently if you weren't doing what you're doing today?
Oh man, um, I think right now it's really doing much more in the area of storytelling. Um, but I want I want to share Guam with the rest of the world. So taking like writing seminars on Guam, right? If anybody wants to visit a tropical island and do a romance novel, Guam's a good place to do it. Um, or any sort of novel, right? Novel writing or anything like that. Um, and so I think that having these on location seminars, a lot of people go to Bali, a lot of people go to Hawaii, a lot of people visit the Caribbean. But if you're an American, why not go to Guam? You don't even need a passport to get there. You're an American. So I think that would be something I would like to get in ahead of and be a part of in the future.
All right, how about we make that happen for you? How about we carve out a date and make one of these shows the story about Guam and why you want to be there?
Oh man. Okay.
Are you
Yeah, why not?
are you down for that?
Yeah, absolutely.
Because
Sure.
because to answer the question I just asked both of you, what would I'd rather be doing? Let me tell you, I wouldn't do anything other than what I'm doing now. I spent a fantastic career with white collar corporate environment, And nobody goes to school, nobody grows up wanting to be an insurance professional. I can assure you of that. And if there is, it's like microscopic percentages. I am proud of the career that I built, but having exited and seeing how much more there is outside of those glass ivory towers is just mind-boggling. So I'm happy right where I am, doing what I'm doing, sharing my stage, getting my voice and the voices of others heard, getting the messages seen, and just helping other people be remembered, and you know, sharing the visibility of these types of stages. So that's what I'm happy doing what I'm doing right now at this moment. So thank you, both of you, for being part of my moment and being part of the narrative and the legacy that I'm building today. And Jay, we can talk about your story, and we can talk about Guam once we get off the air. We can start planning that for you. Omar, this was your hour. This was your story. So happy that you were able to spend the hour with us. I know we had a few technical glitches, but
Yeah,
we
that
survived them. Uh, so
that
uh,
happens. I mean, what's a show without tech issues? You know, you need that to learn. But I appreciate you allowing me to be on the show, both of you, and Jay to meet with you again, and America, both of you. I want to bring you on my show when I start again in the fall. That would be great. That show is "Do We Really Know People?" So that's a fun show that I do, along with the quiz show. So
do we really know people? Wow, that's I was saying that anecdotally, but you actually have a theme,
yeah.
and you have a concept built around my comedic idea.
And everyone knows anyone is welcome on that show, no matter what. So.
Fantastic. So, how can people reach out and get to know Omar? I'm going to bring up your QR code up here again.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, you can find me Omar M. I'm connected with everybody here. You can search Zoom Party in LinkedIn and also on YouTube as well. I'm working on a website. I don't have one yet. So my two channels are on there. And that's pretty much it. My email is should be on my YouTube. I have an email which is zoomparty@gmail.com. That's through the Zoom. Uh, platform. Zoom has an email, so you can go through there, and yeah, that's how you can reach me. I'm happy to meet anybody there. Um, I like all people. Doesn't matter where you come from, what color, what skin, where your background is. I can connect with any single person. And so yeah, connect with me. I love to meet new people all the time. That's me.
Fantastic. So, for those of you who stuck around and were engaging in the comments, I couldn't see them, um, and wasn't able to triage it during the air, but I will jump into the comment feed on LinkedIn and make sure that questions that were asked are answered, and those who participated and engaged are thanked and appreciated for their attendance. For now, it is a wrap. I want to thank everyone for making it out, and have a great day wherever your day may find you.